Neil Coyle, you're 42. You were elected as a Labour MP in 2015. You were one of 6 children. That's a big family. Big family.
Yep. Four and 2 halves, but we don't, there's 6 siblings.
Happy childhood?
I'd be lying if I said it was happy and smooth. It was difficult, very difficult in places, but everyone's childhood makes them the person they are. So I know that the very difficult phases and patches have made me who I am now and have given me an emotional resilience, and is probably one of the reasons I resort to, some would say, bad comedy to try and shield a little. But it was, there were certainly very, very happy times. There were certainly very difficult times.
Let's talk about your mum's mental health.
Yeah, so mum was diagnosed with schizophrenia. It was late onset. They don't know the cause of all schizophrenia. Mum and dad had been married. They met through a church group. They were both active, both sporty. She was a primary school teacher and ran a pop-in club for kids. They had 4 children together. And then mum's mental health deteriorated dramatically, very, very badly, and that she was sectioned. Their relationship collapsed, and mum's mental health has never fully recovered. It's still a significant impact. She was sectioned last year, so it's still an issue. And it's been good to see mental health care improve in some ways in that time. There's actually been quite a lot of regression in the last few years. So some of the support that might have been there previously wasn't. But it's always been difficult to try and get good mental health care. There's been times when it's only because, like, she had a car accident and the police prosecuted her for hitting a bollard for dangerous driving. No one wasn't an accident involving other people, but it was only because she was in the criminal justice system that the magistrate was able to order psychiatric assessment, and that's what got her back into mental health care, which is crazy. The system is crazy, not people.
My dad has been sectioned in the past, so can you remember the first incident when your mum had an episode? Can you remember? You were very young.
So yeah, and sadly, some of my earliest memories are the most difficult. But there was a time, I've talked about this previously, that mum set fire to the living room carpet because she was trying to keep us warm. There was no intent to damage or harm anybody or the property. But I honestly don't know. We used to genuinely have the coin meter. People don't see them anymore, so they find that hard to understand. But I don't know whether she didn't have any money to work the heating system. I don't know whether her mental health had collapsed so badly she just didn't know how to do it. But she set fire to the carpet, and because of
were you there?
Yes, yeah, we were there. It was in the evening. My brother and sister were there. It was quite scary. But that's. There were other things. She kept me out of school, saying I was ill when I wasn't ill. And I couldn't understand why I was being kept out of school when my siblings were going in. And mum had a sort of, I wouldn't say obsession's too strong a word, but she told me that I had a lung condition when I was born. It meant I was in an incubator. And I believed that. I thought that was honestly true until I only had a discussion with Dad about it a couple of years ago, and he told me that was rubbish. No, that just never happened. But mum seemed to always think there was a health issue with me, and that became a part of why she kept me out of school and other things. So it was, it was a very strange childhood. But it's given me a strength. I can communicate better, I think, with constituents who come in, either with mental health conditions themselves or worried or affected with family members. I also see a lot of this in the constituency with problem neighbours who have mental health conditions they're not getting the support they need. The impact on the wider community can be quite extreme in certain circumstances, and of course a drain on the police, who shouldn't have to pick up the pieces of a broken mental health system. But it's one of the drivers that got me into, I believe I entered the Labour Party because of my family circumstances. It was I was aware that families like mine and like yours could be better supported. That's, gave me an awareness of public policy issues at a very early age. I mean, I don't remember mum not having schizophrenia, so it's always been part of. No, I don't remember.
Did your mum bring you up?
No. We because of the collapse of mental health and collapse of their relationship, Luton Social Services, where I grew up, they wanted to break up the family and take us into care, and it was only because
At how old? Just young, like
very
primary
young,
school?
yeah, primary school age. So all four of us. Mum's mum was integral to keeping us together. She fought for Dad to have custody in order to keep us together because she knew that if we were taken into care, that would be, and outcomes for children in care in those days were dramatically worse than they are now, and they're still very poor for many children. So, I'd be more likely to have gone to prison than gone to university, for example, if I'd been in care at that time. So, Nan working to make sure Dad had custody and then supporting him was absolutely crucial. It was Nan who used to take us. We got 4 kids and a single parent in the 80s with no tax credits, no, the government not really supporting families. Dad did not have a lot of money, so it was Nan who took us for the school shoes and haircuts.
What did your dad do?
Dad was a salesman, did lots of travelling as a salesman, which meant we were with stepmothers for significant times. Dad was a good salesman. One of the longest jobs he had was 3M. He actually worked for a subsidiary of 3M called Benders, which we thought was hilarious at the time. He used to, get the salesman awards, and they'd take him on trips to Trinidad and Tobago and stuff. It was amazing. So he was, I'm sure he was good at it. He certainly had a character and flair, I think, that would have impressed some people. So he was, but yeah, we had different stepmoms over time. He also got in trouble himself. I remember once we didn't have a stepmom living in the home at the time, but he'd been seeing someone else's wife, and the man had found out, and he and his mates turned up at our house, kicked in the front door. We legged it to Nan's, and Dad came round not long after, covered in blood, someone else's blood, not his own. But yeah, it was dramatic, and he was. If he hadn't been there, our lives would have been, we'd have been in care. If he hadn't been prepared to step up, he did that against the norms of the time, and if it hadn't been for Nan's support, we wouldn't have stayed together as a family. So
you had stepmoms.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
long-term girlfriends, sometimes shorter-term girlfriends. How old were you when they broke up? About?
I think I was about, actually they can't have been together 10 years, because I think I was about 10 or 11, because we had a different stepmom moving when I was at senior school before I went to Bedford School.
Let's talk about your school, because when I was doing my research, I was like, Neil goes went to private school.
I did. I was really lucky. As I say, Mum's mum was so instrumental in our upbringing. She was always there for us, always there for Dad. Funds and breaks, and she had half-term stuff. But she used to love reading to us. She was a primary school teacher herself, so she's always good with children. And she was the one who got us to sit exams to go to Bedford School, to the Harper Trust schools in Bedford, where I don't think I'd have this job now if I hadn't gone there, frankly, given my, given the upbringing circumstances. But it wasn't easy. It was a government-assisted place, so Dad didn't have to pay any of it. They paid for our meals, they paid for our uniforms, they paid for I travelled up from Luton to Bedford every day.
How long did that take? How did you get there?
So it was a bus to Luton train station and a train to Bedford and then a walk to the school. So
every day?
So I had to get up at 5:30, 6 days a week as well. Saturday school was lessons in the morning, games in the afternoon if you were in any school teams. So, and I went on my first day at Bedford School, very nervous and quite intimidating atmosphere, actually, if you're not used to that kind of environment. And of course, most of the children there have come through the prep school, the earlier years, so they know each other. You go in as an outsider, and from very different backgrounds. It was, it was tough. But I got there my first day, and they go through the schedule for the week, and Saturday was there on that timetable. And I said to Dad when I got home, "Why is that on there?" And he said, "It's probably once a term." He didn't know that we were going to be going to school 6 days a week when we started. It was astonishing, really. But and that was me and Mark, my brother. Alex went to the Harp Trust, the girls' school, and they didn't have Saturday school, so it was bone of contention. But as I say, most of my friends at the school I was at before. I mean, I was in a lot of trouble actually at that school. I was constantly badly behaved. I was fortunate. I could get through all the academic bits, and the school reports only did the academic. They relied on parents' evening for the discipline stuff, Dad never went to the parents' evening, so I got off. And my sister used to sign all my detention slips. She used to forge Dad's signature, so he never knew the trouble we were in. But it was, I was suspended. I was thrown out. It was of classes and things. It was. And we used to go nicking up, actually at Asda near the school, but also in town.
Who's just like
my brother or friends?
Friends.
One of my older brothers, my older brother Matt rather, and other friends. We would go around and I got caught by the police when I was 10.
Shoplifting.
Yeah, shoplifting.
That's scary.
It was.
Why did you? I don't know if this is a daft question. Why did you do it? Did you do it because you needed something that you couldn't afford? Because it was something to,
I don't know. Well, I mean, we were causing trouble in lots of different ways. So probably people call it, as an alarm. There was clearly a problem, but some of it was there was no money in the family. Dad didn't have a lot coming in for lots of periods. We certainly didn't get pocket money, things like that. So it was too tempting, I guess. We knew it was wrong. We knew it was bad, and getting caught was awkward when we got home. Dad refused to pick us up at the police station. He said, "Keep him in. You'll teach him a lesson." And then when we did get back, he sent us straight to bed, and he brought up bread and water. He said, "That's all you get in prison." So, to give us a message. But I also have a commendation from the police when I was 13, so at 12 or 13. I saw some people with a gun in front of the house. It turned out they'd just robbed a business around the corner, and I was able to tell the police the description of the guys and that they got in a cab, and it was because the police could track the cab that they were able to catch they'd robbed £15,000, I think, from a building merchant around the corner. So in trouble with the police, but also a commendation for the police within a couple of years. It was, I think it's fair to say, I was mixed in what I was getting up to. But Bedford changed a lot of that because of the hours. I had to get up at 5:30 every day, 6 days a week. So it does, and it was much more challenging in terms of the work I had to do. So I wouldn't say I suddenly became an angel overnight. I used to get in trouble. We used to have drills at public school. It's detentions if you don't do the work, but it's drills for misbehaviour. Okay. So I used to have to clean the school minibuses or polish the trophy cabinet or what were the
Was
other
that enough of a deterrent to stop you?
Not really, well, clearly not, because judging by how many times I had to do it. In fact, the headmaster said if you had to call my name out in assembly one more time, it might be a suspension. And the next week, my brother had a drill, and he thought it was me and called me to his office. So yeah, it was. I had fun. I mean, it was character building.
How often are you seeing your mum during this period? If you're living with your dad, you go into private school, long journey.
So Mum lived in Mars Farm in Luton. She got a council flat there, and we were just the other side of Luton. So it was 2 buses if we went from home to home. But it was, I could get off the train at Leagrave and walk to Mum's flat from to and from school and stuff. So we'd pop in and see. Nan used to take us before we were there. It was quite worrying to see it sometimes when she wasn't well and clearly had no support and was on her own for a long time. There was Matt, my brother, went to live with her because of the circumstances in our house. At one point, he moved in with Mum. I've read parts of his diary from the time. It's quite upsetting. He saw most of that, but...
Tell me again, so Matt's your...
So Matt moved in with Mum because what was going on in our house with Dad's girlfriend at that point. So Matt moves in with Mum, and he's had very different life chances. He didn't finish school, and he was looking after Mum when she was in need of more help, as was he. It was completely unacceptable that they were left to their own devices. It was just... Mum was throwing stuff over the balcony. She lived on the 7th floor. She could. There was a roof over the entrance point, but it was. He had to stay in to stop her throwing his stuff out. Never mind anything else. It was. To be left to their own devices in those circumstances was just horrendous.
How old was Matt when he?
A teenager. So he's probably about 13, maybe 13. Yeah, 13. About 13. And Matt's, as I say, Matt's had very different life chances, and it's the failure to grip mental health services. We're promised mental health bill by this company. Said I think it was meant to be last Christmas, but was it this Christmas? The chance to change that is huge to me. It's to try and ensure other children aren't going through those circumstances.
What could happen? Because what you and your siblings went through is very harrowing and must have lasting consequences, and we'll talk about those. What should society have done?
So if mum had better interventions and support, and obviously medication for schizophrenia has improved dramatically since the 80s, but if she'd had the right medication, if there'd been support to make sure she was taking it in the community, because there's issues there, it's not uncommon, and the fact that it's not uncommon, I mean, there are some very simple remedies, right? If you are taking X amount of medication every day and you don't get a repeat prescription at the right time, there should be a trigger on the system that there's a check, and it's something very simple, an automated system. It wasn't happening then, it's still not happening now.
What is the impact on your mental health of that childhood trauma?
I don't doubt there is an impact, and I've had bouts of depression, things, but I have CBT. I think when Joe was murdered, that triggered lots of, that was a very difficult time. It was
Joe Cox, your friend. You were close.
When Joe Cox. I only got to know Joe after we both were elected. Really, I'd met briefly before, but. So we did work together, we did a Guardian piece together where we got to know each other through the 2015 intake of Labour MPs. It was a real shock, and I don't remember where I was after. I was meant to be at a friend's wedding, and I didn't go, and I have no recollection of where I was. So, I could see I was doing things like shutting down, not communicating with my family or friends, just completely isolating myself, and it was really damaging. And it's you know what the job is like. You need your support network, and I was shutting myself off from mine, and it caused lots of problems. And I was taking silly risks and things, and drinking too much. And we have to look after ourselves in this realm, protect ourselves. I don't think I was at that time, but as I say, I have CBT.
When you say shut down, what explain?
Literally just not replying to anyone, not talking to anyone, not calling people, not contacting family, not communicating at all with.
Did you go to work? Did you just stay at home?
No. I was functioning.
You're right.
I was out. My team and I are very active in the constituency. The workload is always high, and I think throwing into that and ignoring the personal stress was a way of trying to handle it, as well as blotting out with booze some of the nastier bits. But it's been an awful period to be. I love the job. I love my community. I love the support I get from the local community is absolutely amazing. And talking openly about some of this has meant people have come to me just to say thank you for talking about it. This is my family circumstances. This is what it means, and to know that you can go through this and actually still achieve and help others is really important. So there is value in opening up a little, as I did for the Independent and others around talking about this, and of course to try and help other children go through similar experiences and transform the system and the public policy network. But there is a big impact on children who grow up with parents with mental health conditions, and the support they get isn't always there, and there are too many, children carers in this country. How can you possibly perform an education, have the chance to contribute as much as we need everybody to in the economy and everything, if you are being relied upon to provide 20+ hours of support to a parent every week? It's just not possible, and I hope that child carers and children of parents with mental health conditions and actually family and carers around people with mental health conditions are a significant factor in the government legislation, because there have been times when we have begged and fought for extra interventions and support, they've not come. And that human cost on mum in particular, but on the rest of the family, and also then the public cost be it through, as I say, having a traffic accident and then police and criminal justice system involved, but also it is so expensive to institutionalise the problem, to put people to section people. It's 500 something, 550, 600 pounds a day for that kind of treatment. Keeping people on the right medication and giving them a bit of support in the network is so much cheaper.
Do you take medication?
No.
So
I did when I had a really bad relationship breakdown with someone I thought I was going to marry. We broke up, and I just didn't understand what had gone wrong. It was my fault, but I didn't understand why I couldn't make a relationship work. That's how I felt. So I had a really bad bit of depression, and I did take some antidepressants then, but that wasn't.
This was a long time ago.
I've married since. I have a beautiful daughter, and I know that Esme has a much happier childhood at 5 than I was, and that makes a huge difference to me to see her so positive and so strong already. Is amazing.
So CBT. Is that
talking therapy? Yeah.
Yeah, talking. Does it help?
One thing it does do, so if people feel you, for whatever reason, you can't talk to someone else, or you don't talk to someone else. In my case, I don't open up. You're getting more out of me here, but you can talk to a professional, someone's trained, and you can set targets for yourself if it's around making sure you're not engaging in particular activities, or whatever your issue is. Then it's a way of helping you manage and making sure that you are in control and aware. Because I knew I wasn't fully in control, and that's quite scary. But I was able to, as I say,
this started with Joe's murder.
Yeah, and actually it was one of the counsellors, Bill Williams, who now works for me, who said, you're not okay, are you? And have you thought about this? And that was an important moment actually, because I thought, this is visible to other people. I'm clearly not happy, so it's something I need to do to make sure for myself more than anything else. As I say, I was completely functioning. I was I was out and about. I was in Parliament. We had enough to do with all the debates and Brexit and all the rest, which didn't.
No. That period was not a happy period for anybody.
It was. I think it's fair to say that was a massive stress. But we had the amount, the tidal wave of stress that came through with the internal Labour Party nonsense and mess and the hatred that someone's had to part with. Brexit, Joe's murder, I had somebody break the window at my home, my bedroom window at home during the Brexit debate. So,
smashed.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, and
were you in bed?
And there's no way out the back. It's a brick wall, so it's I was sat with a cricket bat in case they came through.
Were you in bed?
Yeah, it was about 3 a.m. or something, 2:30, 3 a.m.
And your window was smashed in your bedroom.
Yeah,
because
people thought I was.
Let's not relive.
I've never done anything other than represent the vast majority of my constituents' views and what I believe is in the national interest. But I know I'm not alone. And actually, women MPs get far more abuse and negatives. When Joe and I did that article calling for Labour to take a greater leadership role in the European referendum, our offices were very close on the same corridor. I ran into her the next day and she said, "Are you getting all these blokes calling?" And I said, unless my team is screening it. Not one person phoned me, but bloke after bloke after bloke was phoning Jo Cox, telling her effectively to shut up as a woman. And that revealed to me a lot about the abuse that women get in politics that I've not suffered.
Il, how often do you have CBT?
I'm not having it currently. Sorry, I should have said.
Okay.
So I've had it. It was very helpful in just setting some targets and making sure that I was on top of things. And it through doing it, I then realised I should be properly talking to my family about where I was at and the stresses and everything, and the impact it was having. Because I think some of them could see it, and I am close. We're not physically close. One of my brothers lives in China, so we don't exactly get to see each other every week. But I'm very close to my sister, and as I say, Matt and John, my brothers who live in Newcastle, both campaigned for me, and John's relatively new to the Labour Party. His first experience wasn't as positive. It was up in Hartlepool campaigning, but that was a week that, whilst not brilliant for the Labour Party, was I stayed at Dad's, and Dad drove me over every day to campaign, and he dropped me off at the station on the Monday morning and died on the Friday. So it was quite sudden. But he was a character to last, and was active and fit and happy and healthier. And I love the fact that we got that week together at what I now know is the end. It was, you know, we were out having a pint after campaigning.
I mean, it's a lot for anyone to go through. Is it? Are you drinking at the moment?
I've never stopped drinking. I've set, you know, limits on numbers of days a week, or numbers of units, or whatever, or so like 4 pints in an evening or something as a threshold. Those kind of things help, but I've never stopped. I've done, you know, sober October or dry January or whatever, but things like that. But no, it's I feel in control.
You're in control.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And I am, on a personal level, I'm happier now.
Are you happy?
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, it's hard for the public to understand quite how bad the last few years have been within the Labour Party. You know, it was public knowledge, the Change UK, the independent group wanted me to join with them. I was very unhappy with the former Labour leadership and the failure to articulate a Labour, what a Labour Brexit could have meant differently for people, or how to prevent it even, ideally for me. But Keir has improved the party already. This conference is the first I've come to the whole thing for many years, and the positivity here, the friendship, you know, reconnecting with people, the hugs. I know probably shouldn't be hugging people, but
everyone's hugging.
It's good to get back together. It's good to see the party repairing itself, repairing relationships with the Jewish community, building that positive, you know, vision for what we would do better as we build out of this crisis. And I think the public want to see that. They've been fed up with the Labour Party the last few years, but you know, what the Labour government post-crisis in World War built is still benefiting us now. The NHS more than ever in the last 18 months. The public want to see the government really build back better, not just talk rubbish and deliver very little, you know, hitting people with cuts and new taxes. I think they can see that if the Labour Party under Keir were in government, we would be delivering a better future for everyone that we could all be proud of. And to see that coming through, to see the greater talent in the shadow cabinet, it'd be nice if you were back. But it's, you know, it's been tough, and some of the vitriol that got thrown at us, and the deselection, and nastiness of putting people through deselections,
it was very, very stressful.
It was vicious, and personally, I actually explained to the former General Secretary and to the former leader the impact it had on my mental health. And they didn't bat an eyelid. They didn't give a shit, frankly, and it was disgusting. And, you know, how could they possibly have achieved what the public need in a positive Labour Party if they couldn't give a monkeys about their own colleagues? It was really genuinely disgraceful.
So much to take in. So grateful for you sharing. I think your honesty will help a lot of people. I feel like I have to say I mean, who wouldn't? I'm so sorry that you've had to go through all that, but when you say you're happier now, that will make everyone smile after listening to the real you, Neil. Thank you very much.